Angela Seeger. I am the Director of Business Outreach for the Chamber. I'm glad to have all of you here, and nice to see some faces. This social distancing has made me miss all of you and just being out and about so much. So we're looking forward to the end of this coming. So, Maggie, I'm going to have you zip over to our page, our chamber page. We did get our chamber email out today. Just want to go over a couple highlights for our upcoming webinars. Of course, today we have Dale Carnegie, so I will introduce John in just a moment. But upcoming, so tomorrow we have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce speaking to us on how to use the CARES Act and SBA lending. Then on Friday, we have the La Crosse County Health Department on business and COVID. So some great questions to ask our health department. So if you're not watching their Facebook Lives every day, they're pretty interesting as well. They're doing a great job. So, and then on Monday, we have Mayor Tim Cabot coming on. So some more questions that we might have just from a city of La Crosse perspective. What is it going to look like for us in the future here? So we also, under the top news of the day, is the daily chamber email. So if you haven't received it for some reason, that is where that information is at. We have a couple of state highlights as well, the CARES Act highlights and how to manage funding, preparing for a positive COVID-19 employee. Those are some pretty good questions that we have been getting from our members. All funding in one table, the Family Leave Act and request forms, all of those are coming. There's lots of questions that folks are having and individual questions. And then some of our other highlights, catching our notes on our full webinar and what's coming up in Washington, D.C. and Wisconsin in the next few weeks. And something pretty cool, the Tavern League of Wisconsin created a fundraiser for bar owners. So some good information. And then our state highlight, La Crosse gets $518,000 in CARES Act funding. So more details on that on our website. So without further ado, we all need to put our stress into perspective. And today, John Walrath, who has been a trainer and is the area manager for Dale Carnegie, he's been a trainer for the past 23 years. Holy moly. So we invite him to come on board and give us a little de-stressor, please, John.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm very excited. 23 years absolutely flies, so I don't feel like any older than I was when I started in Upper Peninsula of Michigan. But I am excited. La Crosse is like very similar to training in the UP. So of all the places I've trained, La Crosse really has been very special to me, and people are very engaged. So I very much appreciate that. You know, what's interesting is stress, even, and not to promote the Dale Carnegie course, when it's an effective communication human relation program, stress and worry is like the #1 area people do benefit from the program, which is amazing. But today's life, fast-paced life, with technology and all, people are living lonelier lives. We're more remote like we are today, but with the video, we're able to connect, but there's no touch and whatnot. So it just compounds the stress of being lonely and not having meaningful relationships like Facebook. People have 500-600 friends, but are they truly friends, right? So these principles come from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. There's 30 principles total. I'm not going to go through all of them unless someone asks a question about them. So I kind of highlighted the ones that I'd like to discuss, but feel free to ask questions, and I will open it up for questions after every slide, because we do learn from each other and it gives me a chance to clarify something. What's interesting about stress is there's 3 types of stress: psychological, you know, fatigue, depression, anxiety, but there's physical, blood pressure, ulcers, cancer, heart attacks, It affects our immune system. Even dental cavities and stuff can be contributed to our ability to deal with stress. But then behavioral. You'll see people getting very impatient. You'll see accidents, road rage. Oh, I see it all the time because I'm on the road, but addictions and tempers. So how do we get better at dealing with this? Well, we'll get to that. But the interesting thing about stress is it is good to a point where we're at optimal performance. But the longer stress lasts, we can get to a point where we get anxiety. And I've heard people, their anxiety gets so bad, they don't even know what to do first. And people have meltdowns. And what we try to do is keep everyone on the left side of the bell curve so that we can be proactive with stress rather than reactive. I've heard a couple ways of describing stress. One's sitting in a rocking chair. There's a lot of motion, but you don't go anywhere. Or it's like a grave with both ends kicked out. You're alive, but you're not doing anything. And these principles allow us to really live happier, fuller lives when applied. So the first one is day-tight compartments. Dale Carnegie uses an analogy of an ore boat, how the ore boat has compartments, and once you go in one compartment, you shut the door of the one you went through. So the interesting thing about day-tight compartments is you can shrink these down into hour-tight. I've heard people say, wow, I had a bad morning this morning. And I say, well, the good news is it's afternoon's like a new day. You can start over. They don't fully grasp that. Or if you know you have a big meeting in the afternoon, living in day-tight compartments or hour-tight allows us to focus our full energy and attention on what we're doing to be most productive. I myself, when I train, a lot of classes are in the evening. I still sell and have meetings during the day, and I cannot think about my evening class because my meetings won't be as productive as they could be. You can shrink day-tight compartments into task-tight. Studies show we're most productive when we're focusing on one task at a time. And when we're jumping around, getting interruptions, studies also show we spend a third of our day getting to the level of productivity we were at before the interruption. And so I ask people, what would you do if you could get 4 months extra to work or to live? And they're like, oh my God, I'd be way more productive. So task type, focus on one thing at a time and focus on that till you're done, and then do the next most important thing if you're prioritizing, right? So it can be work and home type. What I mean by that is when you hop in your car from home and go to work, leave home behind you and focus on work. Don't bring your personal or family issues to work. And when you leave work, focus on your personal life. The reason this is so big is there is secondhand stress, just like secondhand smoke. So if you go home stressed, your significant other's gonna pick up on it. If you have children, they pick up on it. And then next thing you know, you're raising a bunch of stressed children. And that's really unfortunate. If we know these principles, we can put these to practice. I worked with a superintendent from Bolt Construction 6 years ago in Green Bay. When he comes home, when he walks in the front door, his wife, if he has stress on his face, says, you go back to your workshop in the backyard, and he stays there till he de-stresses. Then he says, I can focus on my family and give them the attention that they deserve. So especially in today's world, with this virus going around, people not going to work unless they're essential jobs, we really got to take it one day at a time. We can't focus on the past, and that's a principle coming up, we can't focus on tomorrow, but we can give today all the energy, enthusiasm, and attention that we can to make tomorrow even a better day. So, we don't preach in Dale Carnegie, but like the Bible says, give us this day our daily bread. Live in day-tight compartments and we'll just be happier, more focused, and more productive. The next one, how to face trouble, actually isn't a bad one. It's not highlighted. What's the worst that can happen? Psychologists say when we accept the worst, it's a release of energy. And most often, the worst never happens. But we tend to think the worst because we kind of live in it. Well, we do live in a negative world. 80% of our thoughts are negative. You raise a child, they hear the word no 400 times a day. Then we go to school and mistakes from the teacher are in red. So we're focused on the mistakes. We tend to think the worst. They kind of go together. So when we accept it and it's a release of energy, we can build upon the worst and most often the worst never happens. But just understand when we think about the worst, it is a release of energy and we say, well, can we live with it? Most often we can, because we're blessed in the United States. We really are, and we kind of forget about that. The third, and I'll open this up for questions after this slide, is remind yourself the exorbitant price you can pay for worry in terms of your health. I had a client of mine who worked at a manufacturing company, and he was under tremendous stress. He was having heart issues. His heart would palpitate. And he knew that he was going to be let go because there was a change in leadership. And he called me the day he was let go, and he says, John, he says, today was the day. I said, how do you feel? He says, you know what's interesting is I've been having heart issues. I was going to go to the doctor, and I realized when I got in my car and driving back home, my issues went away. So it affects I mentioned this before, heart attacks, ulcers, arthritis. And what's interesting is we work so hard to accumulate, to buy a house, get a car, save for retirement, that Carnegie, when he wrote the book, How to Stop Worrying, Start Living, business people were dying in their 40s and early 50s because of the stress that they were under. Countries outside the US, they kind of laugh at us. They say, you work so hard to accumulate and lose your health, and in retirement, everything you saved up, you pay to get your health back. But understand, health is most important, absolutely most important. And it allows us to make a living and make an impact on our family in a positive way. If we lose our health, we lose everything. We absolutely do, especially if it affects our ability to make a living. So these are the first three principles. Of these first three, which is your favorite principle and why? Anyone want to give some feedback? The more interactive this is, the better. Have you thought of any of these three? Any questions on these first three? Is someone asking here? Maybe not. I see
There we
lips.
go. Okay. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't really have a question, just a comment. I mean, for most of us, we're dealing with interacting with our customers and our clients. And for me, I want to find a way to help them embrace this so that they're not so overwhelmed by what's going on, whether that's because they got laid off or their business closed, or I don't know, whatever is going on with with all that's going on in the world right now. So just to try and give them a sense of calm. I guess any tips for sharing this with the folks that we're interacting with?
Yeah, so what's interesting is you can download the Golden Book from Dale Carnegie's website. The Golden Book has all 30 principles from how to win friends, influence people, and how to stop worrying and start living. You do have to put your contact information in. And if you do, I'll just send you an email thanking you for downloading it, especially if I see it from lacrosse, because most likely it's from this workshop. When you know these principles, and actually as we go through, if you like one, jot it down. And then if you know that's going to help them, communicate to them. Another way is if you don't belong to Audible and they like to read, audible.com, you get a free download. Download How to Stop Worrying, Start Living, and when you're driving to and from work, you can listen to it. I tell everyone that enrolls in Dale Carnegie to do that. It's a great way to hear examples, how people have used it with great success. The book's full of examples. That's examples clarify, and people like reading stories. Storytelling is a big deal right now. So those are two ways you could do it. You know, we tell people in the training, share this with others. Share your book with them, share the Golden Book. You know, everyone deals with stress differently. One of the stress principles is stay busy. That's coming up. You know, I'm at my parents in the UP. It'll be 3 weeks on Friday. And my girlfriend's like, let's everyone go snowshoeing yesterday. And it was interesting when I spend an hour out in the woods, we still have snow up here. What that did to me, right? Because the worst thing to do is sit around and think about it. It actually gets worse. It does not help. So exercise, read, do something to take your mind off it. Did that help answer a question? Your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and if you guys have that thumbs up, you can give a thumbs up, or even like if you have, I don't know how to ask questions. We do have co-hosts on here, but if you have a question in the chat, and we'll get to you. Is that right, Angela?
Yep, I'm checking the chat, so nothing as of right now.
Yes, teamwork. Gotta love it. So these ones here are really, if you got problems, you know, and I'm not really going to focus on these, but I can. Number 7, this is a really good one. I'm going to briefly talk about if people come to you with problems all the time, and we've been the designated problem solver. We need to empower. Dale Carnegie says if you want to eliminate up to 50% of your time in problem solving meetings, have people, if they can't solve it, come to you with a challenge, have them start solving their own problems and a proposed solution before they come to you with the problem. He said more often than not, they'll solve their problem, and if they don't, you'll spend 25% or less time spent in problem solving meetings. It's even less than that. But we need to empower our people to solve their problems, unless it's something costly. But at some point, someone allowed us to figure out our problems, and we probably made mistakes, and that's the path to success. What would you do if you could get 50% of your problem-solving meetings back? You can post this on a wall. You can tell your team, you're the experts. This is why we hired you. I trust if you have a problem, or phrase it as a challenge, that because you're the expert, most likely you'll have the answer. But if you absolutely need my help, come to me with a proposed solution. You might find that their solution's better than yours. And that's how we innovate, improve efficiencies and whatnot. But this is a a big principle if you're spending a lot of time in problem-solving meetings. But get the top one, getting all the facts. How many times do people make decisions, especially hearing one person's side of the story and not the other? It's critical, but you got to get the facts subjectively. Any comments on the problem solving, really number 7, the 4 steps? Any clarification on that? I have an engineer in Madison who posts, I'm only available from 10 to 10:30 in the morning if you have questions. And it's allowed her to be way more productive. And I'm encouraging you all on this call to try this, because we don't need to be the problem solver in our organization. That's not what you're hired for. You're hired to focus on what you're responsible for. Going next, keeping busy. This one's huge. There's a story in the book about a guy who lost his wife in a marriage, and his daughter wanted him to build a sailboat, and he started building one sailboat after another. It takes your mind off the stress. In 2004, I went through a divorce. I was living in Milwaukee, and I moved back to Houghton, Michigan, and I bought 3 cabins on the water. I totally renovated cabins. And I ended up missing some Dale Carnegie meetings in Milwaukee because I worked myself literally to the point of exhaustion. But it was productive. But it takes our mind off of it. You can't think of 2 things at once when you're busy. If I say multiply 391 by 13 and divide 264 by 73, you focus on one first, then the other. So keeping busy not only allows us to potentially, if it's exercise, get in better shape, but it allows us to take our mind off and be constructive rather than sitting on the couch or sitting in a chair. And you see these things going on Facebook, kind of funny. You'll see a guy sitting on the couch, laying on the couch with chips and beer. And 2019, I hate to use the word loser, but that's what they use. Then 2020, he's saving the world, right? Well, let's get off our butts and do something, and that will definitely help alleviate stress. Don't focus on the trifles. How often do we major in the minors? Especially now when families are home. I talked to some of my clients, and I have a graduation tonight. She said, well, I have 3 little children and my husband's working at home and we're trying to balance, right? It's easy to start nitpicking. But we should focus on the big picture and not let the little things get to us. It can wreck relationships, right? I don't like the way you chew your ice or you chew your food or the way you clear your throat. There's trees in Colorado that survived hundreds of years, these massive trees, thunderstorms, tornadoes, lightning. Finally, they were destroyed, and what destroyed them were little beetles to the point where you could just push them over, Dale Carnegie says. And the same thing can be for us. The little things can tear us up. And the way I deal with it is focus on all the things that I like about that person or the reasons, the things I admire about them. The interesting thing is, if we want to find the negative or nitpick, we will, it's easy. Or if we want to focus on the positives, it's easy. It's all a matter of where we want to put our focus. And I tend to focus on what I admire or appreciate about a person. And actually what's interesting too on that topic, if we're really negative during this time of crisis, right, it does affect our immune system. So studies show if we're positive and optimistic, it helps us stay healthier, and it rubs off on other people tremendously too. We're drawn to positive people. Cooperate with the inevitable. Right now there's nothing we can do except wash our hands, stay 6 feet apart, stay home. pretty much isolate ourselves till this thing is over. If we don't cooperate, it makes it miserable, not only on ourselves, but the people around us. In 2000, well, I moved back from Oklahoma. My mom had Alzheimer's, and it was a tough time for us. The best advice I was given was laugh at it. And this was from a second cousin, my mom's aunt's son, who my mom's aunt also had it. There was nothing I could do about it but spend quality time with her and laugh with her, right? You just have to. Dale Carnegie uses an analogy. Either you bend like snap like the oaks, or bend like the willow. And right now it's critical that we cooperate with it and focus on things that we can do versus things we can't. I heard this on Facebook. I saw, turn I'm stuck at home to I'm safe at home. It's interesting how that just 1 degree change in wording makes a difference. And oh my God, I am blessed to have a home or a roof over my head, and I am safe here versus I'm stuck, right? Because if we say I'm stuck at home, it just gets us in that negative spiral. So I encourage all of you, as stressful as you are, as frustrated as you are, and believe me, I am too. I had 3 classes postponed, and I had to cancel, 4 classes postponed, and I had to cancel a half a day of training. And so it's hard on everyone right now. We're not alone on this. But decide how much anxiety a thing is worth and refuse to give it any more. It's like putting a stop loss on our worries. I have a graduate, she says, when I drive home and I had a stressful day, halfway home is a Hardee's. And when I get to Hardee's, I decide to give stress no more. I just stop. You know, we can do the same by changing our focus on things we admire, changing our focus to our family or loved ones. But if we don't, it's just going to eat us up. So it's putting a stop loss on our worries. Easier said than done, but it really truly comes down to where our focus is. I had a friend that was going through a really tough time, and I told her in the book, Positive, oh my God, Positive Advantage, Positive, I can shoot it to Angela later. It says every day, write down 3 things you're appreciative of or went well for the day. And it's a 30-day challenge. And at the end of 30 days, it'll rewire our brain to make it more positive, and it will rub off on people. And if you do this with your children, it's amazing at the supper table versus being on the phone. So any questions on these principles? Keeping busy, not worrying about trifles, cooperating with the inevitable. Which one is most beneficial for you? Come on.
I'm seeing no chats, but everyone, you may unmute yourself. Paul says keeping busy was a good one for him. So
Paul, thanks for saying that. What are you doing to keep busy?
We try to, we get outside for walks. We get up in the woods on our off time, and during work, it's just like you said on the first few slides, where you're prioritizing and getting through tasks during the day. And our motto here at Mid-City is we can only control what we can control. I know it's a lot of people's lately, but it's kind of hard to keep that in perspective. So
yes, absolutely. And there's so much truth in what you said. You can only control what you can control. It's like that serenity prayer, right? The courage to, anyone remember the serenity prayer? Right now I'm having a lapse. And Anyone want to type it? But the courage to change the things I can and the difference, the knowledge to know the difference. I just butchered it. Do not write that down. Or
Right.
do not say John Walrath said that. This is, yeah, hopefully more interactive. So Paul, thanks for sharing that. Anyone
John,
else doing any? Go ahead.
Yep, I have another one for you. Decide how much something is worth and not give it more. I often use the line, it's not a mountain I'm willing to die on. That's good advice.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one, oh, here she got it. Good job, Jennifer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Nice.
Wisdom. Yeah, kind of along the same line, what Paul said. So thank you for sharing. Glad to see that we're getting more interaction here, because we do learn from each other in Dale Carnegie, and it should be in these sessions as well. Fill your mind with thoughts of peace, courage, health, and hope. This is one of my favorite. I actually posted this on LinkedIn 3 weeks ago, and I have over 900 views. Probably my most popular post, especially during this time. We got to think, this is a matter of where we're putting our focus, right? But we got to think of really all the things we're appreciative of and all the things we can do. I truly believe, and I didn't read this, but when people lose hope, they lose everything. They really do lose everything. That's the point. I feel they're in a mental meltdown. But think of courage. You know, even courage is kind of stepping out of our comfort zone. But we got to focus on stuff like this: music, religion, whatever it takes to get us through this, because it's all a matter of where our focus is. I really don't have a whole lot to say about that one, but it kind of speaks for itself, in my opinion. Count your blessings, not your troubles. It's when I was 15, I grew up on playing competitive hockey. And when I was 15, I went to Mayo Clinic because doctors in the UP couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I had a dimple on my hip that I can't run or jump since I was 14. So I had to quit sports. And my immediately thought was, what can I focus on? Right? It's all on where our focus is. It's coming back to focus again. But when we count our blessings, we become more appreciative. And there's a quote that says, people that don't appreciate what they have won't appreciate what they're gonna get, so what's there to look forward to? And appreciation is, counting your blessings is an attitude, total attitude. And it rubs off on relationships too, because so often we take people for granted. And I've heard stories of people's parents or dad or mom being sick, but they can't go visit them. Oh, wow. Just focus on positive memories and stuff. I feel like I'm talking way too much here, but let's be more appreciative and focus on what we are thankful for versus the opposite. Because you'll see it on their face, you'll see it on the body language and the way we communicate. Create happiness for others. Dale Carnegie says a bit of fragrance always clings to the person that gives you roses. And it's hard to make other people happy and not get happy ourselves. When I moved back after my divorce, my parents were in North Carolina for Christmas. So I had no family up here. So my second cousin, whose mom had Alzheimer's when my mom did, he says, well, let's go to Big Brothers, Big Sisters on Christmas, cook food and serve it. I can tell you that was one of my most memorable Christmases, by taking my Christmas and allowing it to bless others. Oh, the smiles I got in return, it's priceless. So this one here though, we have to take the focus off of us and put it on other people. And that can be challenging for a lot of people, actually. I see it in the training. But it's when we take the focus off of us too, it allows us to forget about our worry, and we actually feel better to count our blessings, not our troubles. So any of these principles strike home?
For me, the count your blessings, not
What?
troubles. I have been trying every single day to practice gratefulness, which Debbie just said something on the chat about. Finding little tiny things to be grateful for. It can literally be the silliest thing. So today, this sounds crazy, and you guys all, I hope, can laugh at me about this, but I was so grateful that my significant other, Chad, put the toilet paper roll on correctly. Like,
yeah, I did laugh.
And like, but that's the thing, like, people are like, ha, funny. No, like, you look at it, you're like, yes, I don't have to change it, So little simple things, like I heard a bird chirping, like it's been so helpful. And I've been getting outside, like Paul said, multiple times a day, not just when I'm tired of looking at my screen, sitting here or standing, I walk outside. So as much as I can. So like the simple little things can really make your day go by so much, and then so much faster, but also it makes you look for those little simple positive things that you're grateful for too. So you'll see a lot.
Yeah. Dale Carnegie's, one of his principles is praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. So the interesting thing is something like that, as simple as a toilet roll, how it's in there, right? Can get majoring in the minors, right? Could get to that point. But when we focus on the positives, the negatives slowly start going away and the positives become way more positive. That's how we transform, one way how we transform people in the training. And you got to catch people doing it, right? And then give them praise, right? And they'll want to do more of that. That kind of goes along with appreciation. The deepest principle in human nature is a craving to be appreciated. I'll ask people, when's the last time you got appreciation? And they'll say 2 weeks ago. Oh my God, what if you didn't feed your children for 2 weeks? DHS would be knocking on your door, right? But how often do we nourish their souls to build their self-esteem and whatnot? People always go above and beyond when they're appreciated. But that was great energy, Katie. I appreciate you sharing that. Because right now, yeah.
There's a couple more in here. Kind of the same theme is giving appreciation and helping other people takes care of all worries, said Kathy. And then Tyler said, random acts of kindness, no matter how small, they have the ability to make a major difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. And that random acts of kindness is also taking the focus off of us and putting it on the other. My last meal in Oklahoma before I moved up, I went to Chick-fil-A and I ordered spicy chicken and the lunch meal. And I come up to the window and the lady at the window's like, and I'm like, what, you're out of chicken? She said, no, the car in front of you paid for you. I'm like, aw. So I gave her $10 and I said, cover the car behind me, right? And it can be contagious. Oh man, the world needs more of that. So thanks for saying that. Absolutely. But we have to be positive too to be able to do that. We can't be stressed. It's kind of hard. Anything else? Okay. Rest before you get tired. Oh man, anyone take naps in here? Yeah. Some people say I can't take a nap. I'm more tired afterward. Before I train, I try to get at least 15 minutes in. Henry Ford said, I never stand up when I can sit down. I never sit down when I can lay down. There's a story I share about two guys cutting wood, And one chopped all day, took a 15-minute break and chopped all afternoon. One guy took a break in the morning, an hour for lunch, and he took a nap and a break in the afternoon. And at the end of the day, the guy that took the breaks actually cut more wood than the guy that worked all day long. So the guy was rather upset that worked all day long. He said, "How is it you cut more wood than I did when you took a break?" He said, "I guess you didn't see when the time I was taking a break, I was sharpening my saw." So it's proven, the military does it. They stop and rest 10 minutes every hour, because when you take a rest, you can actually get more work done. And Dale Carnegie shares a story where the guy was taking breaks every hour, and he outperformed the normal worker that wasn't taking breaks by 400% in productivity. So if it means getting away from your desk and taking a walk outside around the parking lot, if it means just closing your computer and meditating, whatever you can do to rest before you get tired. Even learning to relax at work, that goes along the same way, but at home too. When I was younger, I would work till it was dark at night in the summertime, because in the UP, if summer lands on a Sunday, we go on a picnic. And that was a joke. I don't see any laughs over there. I guess Zoom doesn't work as well. So, oh man, but now I've learned that I can relax, and I find I'm more productive and have more energy. Any of you, what do you do to relax when you're not working or you are working that's effective?
Like I said before, taking walks, just getting away from the computer, because obviously we are all sitting in front of computers right now. A lot.
Yes. Thank you, Katie, again. You get a free golden book when I'm in town again. Don't worry about criticism. Do the best you can. You know, even during this time, you're working from home. Actually, it's a good time to call because you can get a hold of people. We should always do the best we can, because if we don't, when are you going to have time to fix a mistake if you do, if it's subpar? But every job a person does is a self-portrait of the person that does it. So autograph your work with excellence. Oh, and then Dale Carnegie says, pray. Even if you're not spiritual, it puts your thoughts into action. And a lot of time when we do that, it helps us clarify our stress and to find a way to reduce it or do something about it. Interesting, because we're near the end here, and then we have 10 minutes left. This first one, clear your desk of all the papers except those relating to the immediate problem at hand. How many people on their computers have 10 or more windows open? I see a couple. Yeah, I only see like 4 people besides me. So the book was written in the 50s. It's interesting, these principles still apply today with technology. Do things in order of importance. Anyone read the book, Eat the Frog? If it's a hard task, eat it fast, get it over with first, then the rest of the things are much easier, rather than dreading it all day long because it causes stress. Anyway, what are some key takeaways? What's your main takeaway from these discussions?
We had a couple chats from before. Someone mentioned taking their dog out and playing fetch with them on your last question, John.
What kind of dog?
I don't know.
See if they'll...
I have a 9-month-old lab, so we have all kinds of fun.
I love labs. I've had 5. Yes. What did someone else say?
Brian talked about 20-minute power nap on the floor of the office. needs to be. So something he must find really important that energizes him. That's awesome, Brian.
Yeah.
Last question, Paul says it's balance. So trying to find balance, I would guess, between your family and work and all the stresses that we all have. And Elaine shared, just stay positive and share a smile. And if you've ever met Elaine in person, that is a true thing. She's always got a smile on her face.
You know, the 20-minute power nap on the floor, there's a legend in Pittsburgh. For a while, Pittsburgh franchise owned Milwaukee, and most of my career has been in Milwaukee. And his name's Bob. Every noon for a half hour, he sleeps on the leather couch in the lobby of the office. No one wakes Bob up, and he was working well into his early 80s. So absolutely rest before you get tired. So do whatever you have to. And the last comment, what was the last comment?
It was stay positive, share a smile.
Oh, yeah. Dale Carnegie says a smile one wears on their face is far more important than the clothes on their back. A smile breaks the ice, shows people that you're a friendly person. It's a great positive first impression. Dale Carnegie also said that's why dogs, especially labs, literally jump out of their skins when they see you. They're so excited. So we should too. It sets the tone and breaks the ice. So any other takeaways from these handful of worry principles I discussed?
I am just checking the chats to see what's happening. Problem solving, coming with a solution was one of Deb's favorites. I think you talked about that, to take stress away from you by having someone else come up with a solution.
Absolutely. You know, people do feel important solving other people's problems, but the challenge is if we spend too much time doing that. We're not empowering our people to get, to help them grow. Anything else?
I just want to say this was really great. The whole thing was great, but also just being able to like see some people.
Yeah.
And in sales, I'm losing it over here. So it's been great to see people and connect and just hear everything you had to say. John, that was wonderful. And I just want to say thank you. So.
Yeah, and
Thank
I think the emphasizing love, generosity, and appreciation in our community, there's lots of reasons to reach out to those in need right now, but sometimes you don't know who it is that really needs something. And if you just send a note in the mail to someone who is just doing a great job, and it doesn't have to be a marketing thing, you're not trying to promote yourself, it's just send that note out to them. And and spread your generosity that way, and spread your appreciation that way, and just be kind to someone who's just not gonna expect that, and you might be amazed at how they react, and you might just make their day.
You know, and interesting you say that, because handwritten notes are a thing of the past, but if someone gets it, they tend to keep it. Every call shouldn't be a sales call. It should be, hey, I saw you in the paper. Just give them some appreciation. Absolutely. So thanks for sharing that too. It's those little things. We think it takes too much time, but it doesn't, and we feel better. So a lot of people don't know how to reply to a note like that. So if you don't, we'll do that in classes. They'll send out 30 appreciation notes, the participants, one each. And maybe one or two will say, hey, someone replied to my appreciation I gave, right? So don't feel bad. Do it for the sake of doing it, not expecting anything in return. Yes. People will forget the kind words you say today, but you might forget the kind words you say today, but the recipient could cherish it a lifetime. We do have, I am graduating a class in lacrosse online tonight. But I talked Terry Siebert into doing a 3-day version. It's 1 day a week this summer. And in Madison, this has become our most popular Dale Carnegie course, is a 3-day version, because it doesn't cut into the evenings if you have evening family activities or social activities. And most companies train during the day. So all of my key clients in Madison have changed to the 3-day course. I'm not saying that's going to happen in La Crosse, but if you want to really get good at dealing with stress, communication, leadership, confidence, this could be an opportunity for you. Here's my contact information. If you want more information, the dates aren't set yet, but it will probably start mid-July. And in all reality, it's done, when you think about it, 2 weeks from the day you start. Phenomenal results. I call graduates 4 or 5 years later and they rattle off 6, 7 areas they're still benefiting. But I do want to thank the Chamber. I very much appreciate our relationship with the Chamber and what the Chamber does for their membership. Phenomenal. Everyone should feel blessed to be part of a chamber that is so active and communicates the way they do. I do hope that and wish everyone finds something out of today's session that they can apply immediately, not only for themselves, but share it. Hey, I learned this here, or I learned a couple. How can this help you? Or find out first what they're dealing with. Download How to Win Friends, Influence People on Audible. Buy the book from Amazon. Go to dalecarnegie.com to get a golden book. Actually, if you reach out to me, I can mail you one when I get back to Madison. I got plenty of them at my office. Any final questions?
I am seeing Gretchen's just saying thank you. Very helpful information. So, and Elaine as well, just saying thank you for sharing with us today. So, John, how long has the La Crosse Chamber and Dale Carnegie had a relationship? Do you know how long that's been?
You know, I've been in Madison going on 6 years. I
Okay,
can't
too.
answer that. I don't know, but I
it's
do
a
know
long
I
time.
trained the last 4 programs up there.
Yeah, I know it's been a long time. So we
A long time.
you taking the time and enjoy the snow. We're got sunshine today here in La Crosse, so we're going to stick with that.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for being here, and you make it a great
Thank
day.
you.
Stay
Thanks,
healthy and
everyone.
positive.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, Angie. Good job bringing this all together. Really appreciate it.
It's Maggie. It's Maggie in the background.
Yeah, but you know what? You guys are doing way more than any other chambers out there or any other groups. I mean, you guys have
Yeah.
really done a great job, and it speaks for the power of the chamber and what you guys are all about. So
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a learning curve, but I think we got it. And Vicki at the helm has just, she pushes us to keep doing things ahead of what other chambers are doing. So her leadership is.
and thank you, Maggie.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you
you're
all.
welcome. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks everybody. Great stuff.
All right.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks, John.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye.